Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here on Beyond the Summit for Starladder Season 8, Day Number 2. I'm Zyori. Joining me once again is the one and only at Hippie Casting. We've got our last match just beginning here. We've got Poseidon facing off against Flipsid3. Again, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure casting on Beyond the Summit today while the dedicated BTS casters are getting some much-needed rest. Let's get into the draft. So, Hippie, my friend, what is the good word coming in to our fifth and final match of the day?
10 seconds remaining.
You may need to toggle your settings again, my friend.
Remaining.
That should be good. Are we good?
Okay, here we go.
All right. I was just pointing out the flip side. Their stand-in was late getting in, and they've been penalized all of their bonus time.
Ah,
so
right.
their draft is going to have to come out at lightning speed here.
Absolutely right. So it's been a good day of casting so far. We've seen both of these teams already. It should be an interesting matchup nonetheless. But yeah, that lack of bonus time, it's not so bad if you get cut down to like half your bonus time, but 0 is a little bit rough indeed. So we'll see. Gonna see how that affects the drafts for sure. But let's talk about these bans a little bit. Flipside going to take out Elder Titan and Lich. Poseidon going to ban out the Clockwork and the Veno. All four very potent heroes we've seen in great capacity throughout the casting we've done today. But this is the first time I think we've seen Veno actually banned. In every other match we've casted, Veno has been left in the pool and actually first picked. So that is one little change of pace we'll have here coming up in this match. But alas, Poseidon going to go ahead and first pick the Viper. Timbersaw Visage going to be grabbed by Flipside. But what do you make of the first pick Viper? Really not something we've seen all too frequently.
I think it can certainly be good. If a team values Viper highly, it can be pretty great. His lane presence is, of course, enormously high, just starting at level 1. Previously, you had to get to level 5 before his lane presence really used to kind of come into the forefront because of the fact that you had to wait for that 0 cooldown poison attack. Now that it's 0 cooldown from all levels, just being able to orb walk from level 1 is incredibly strong, especially with a hero who's naturally a very strong 1v1 contender like Viper. You can zone people from the very start of the lane.
Absolutely true. So Pugna going to be the second pick here. And we talked about Pugna a little bit in the last match because he was actually banned out. And as you were mentioning, one of the problems with Pugna is although he's very powerful and pushing, he has a great mid-game stride, there's sort of this point where he just falls off, and towards that late game really doesn't bring too much to the table. But the sort of flip side of that, oh man, is the amazing pushing power that what is it called here? That Nether Blast can put out. I'm spacing on the name of the Q. I don't know. Thoughts about Pugna Viper as the first two picks?
I think it shows that they're not going to late game. That's all I can say about that. Is that first of all, that's already two heroes that need farm. One of them is going to be mid, most likely, and the other one will probably be in a safe lane situation. So you've revealed both your farmers, which means you revealed the stage of the game you're playing towards, which gives Flipside the option to either pick to hold that off and go later, or to pick to contend against it. And it looks like with the Weaver, they're leaving themselves that room to go later, but Visage Timbersaw, already, that's some very strong mid-game, even before these two heroes from Poseidon got picked up. Timbersaw puts out an obscene amount of damage at all phases of the game.
Yeah.
And of course the Visage, I mean, between the birds and between the Soul Assumption can be very, very brutal. Grave Chill is an amazing skill, and he gets very hard to bring down with that Gravekeeper's Cloak. Yeah, absolutely right. So Naga going to be the third pick here to go with the Pugna and the Viper. And I wonder, is this going to be like, is Poseidon going for kind of a Necro Book strat here? I mean, they very well could be. Of course, the last two picks will be a little bit more of an indicator of that. But you're absolutely right. I worry about the level of farm the Pugna and the Viper need. Naga, certainly a powerful support. No problem with her in terms of... I have no... Oh, gee, I'm so stuttering. I haven't eaten enough today. It's starting to show. Game 5 is always a struggle, Hippie. But never a complaint to see a Naga, and she's so good with that counter initiation. But alas, Flipside going to grab the Rubik. Always a strong hero when there's a Naga on the opposition. I mean, theoretically, a good Naga should never give up that ultimate. What? What's wrong?
No, theoretically, just...
okay, all right. Theoretically, a good Naga should never give up that ultimate. So long as she has the mana to, you know, just drop her illusions afterwards. If you're using it as a counter initiation, if you're using it near the start of a fight, then you should have the mana to drop your illusions or your Riptide or something to make sure you don't give that up.
Yeah.
And if you're using it to disengage from a fight, you should be so far out of range of the Rubik that it doesn't get stolen. In practice, it happens very rarely, but it's one of those big ultimates that you usually don't see turned around by a Rubik.
Yeah, so all right, Wind Ranger going to be the 4th pick here for Poseidon to go with their Naga, Pugna, and Viper. And I actually hadn't looked at the 3rd and 4th bans, but Flipside yet again here going to ban out the Bristleback, so he's been getting a lot of love in today's series. Poseidon's 3rd and 4th bans, a little bit interesting. The Nyx as well as the Night Stalker, 2 heroes that very snowball-oriented that do very well in that mid-game. So as you were mentioning, what strategy is Flipside going to go for here? Is it going to be that contesting the mid-game or that very defensive, we're just going to outfarm you and overtake you once your mid-game heroes start to fall off? And it seems Poseidon are very concerned about being contested in that mid-game. Night Stalker one that definitely could, well, throw a wrench into the mix in terms of the strategy it seems that they're going for here.
They're worried about Pugna getting picked off. That's what those 2 bans are targeted against. They're trying to say, we don't want these really great bursty heroes. We don't want people who can sneak up on Pugna without him being able to get out of there somehow or have some sort of rotation. Basically, heroes that can come out of nowhere. Of course, Night Stalker, when you have 600 night vision, it's hard to stop anyone from getting to you. The silence as well, of course, very, very good against Pugna. Prevent him from getting away with that Decrepify. And of course, not having to worry about the Nyx Assassin, not having to spend a lot of money on sentries, not having to, just lose your Pugna constantly. And I think that's their main thing. Because Pugna is very, very fragile, very, very easy to gank if he doesn't have some sort of survivability up or he doesn't have heroes nearby. And so heroes that are going to be rotating early and are able to rotate early, Venomancer, we see as one of the early bans that we mentioned. The Nyx, the Night Stalker, all heroes who can rotate very early, could punish Pugna a lot. But Bounty Hunter, I really like that. I really, really like that.
Yeah, absolutely. As we've seen with Bounty Hunters, if he can get a little bit of momentum early on, hit that level 6 in a pretty timely manner, it can just be open hunting season, and he will be able to make the life of Pugna, even the life of Viper, a little bit more difficult once he starts to roam about. All in all, I like this roster from Flipside, very balanced, and they are going to be able to hit a decent mid-game stride here, but wow, Doom going to be the 5th pick coming out for Poseidon to go with their Wind Ranger, Naga Siren, Pugna, and Viper. Thoughts about the Doom pick, Hippie?
I think it's perfect. Because I think, for one thing, he's going to carry all of your mid-game auras, and he's going to get them up quickly because you're going to put him in a farming role. And so, I mean, you see Illidan play him already. You know he's going to have good gold. The Doom to shut down. I'm not even thinking about the Weaver right now because I'm thinking of the Weaver as kind of sitting back trying to farm up, maybe coming to fights. Doom to shut down the Timber Saw is massive. Or shut down the Rubik if you're worried about him stealing something big in the mid-game. That could be absolutely huge to take either of those heroes out of fight, especially negating all of that Timber Saw damage in the early game. And so basically making it a 4v5 early when Poseidon really wants to be fighting all the time and they want to be pushing all the time is going to be hugely significant. And again, he's going to have something like probably an early Vlad, maybe an early Drum on top of that. I hope he goes an Aura build. I'm really expecting him to with what they've drafted here. If he goes anything else, I get a little more worried, but I can't emphasize how much you usually hear me, and like if someone drafts a Farming Doom, I say I don't like Farming Doom. In this lineup, I think Farming Doom is perfect.
Yeah, and that's a good way to put it. Generally speaking, that position 1 Doom, I think, just isn't exactly this. It's just not that great. If you want to put him in that position 1, there are a lot of other heroes that carry so much more effectively and take that farm further in the late game. Although, if you have a strategy like this where you are all about that really mid-game stride, giving Doom those early levels and early farm, as you mentioned, is so powerful because those auras, they add up pretty quick. And especially as we know, he can grab those creeps with a Devour and suck up some of those other auras that make him just a complete aura machine. So let's go ahead and introduce our rosters here on our Radiant side. We do have Team Poseidon up in the top. It looks like we will have JOTM playing on the Wind Ranger. Solo going to be on the Viper, also headed up to that top lane. In the mid, going to be Tame My Wild playing on the Pugna. We do have Kay playing on the Naga Siren, right now rotating towards the top lane, but was stationed about the bottom to start things off. And Illidan going to be playing on the Doom in the solo safe lane. It would appear. On the Dire side, we do have Flipside RU. We do have a Hollow Dance. On the Bounty Hunter, going to be playing the long lane solo role. In the mid, we're going to have Heart playing on the Timber Saw, and that means we have a pseudo tri-lane up in the top lane, and Light going to be on that Weaver farming away. We've got their stand-in, who was late to the party, Caliph, going to be playing on the Rubik, and last but certainly not least, Book going to be playing on the Visage here. And I don't know why I said pseudo tri-lane. It's going to be a real tri-lane between these 3 heroes again. Game 5 of the day. Fatigue starts to set in. So try on try. Let's see what we've got here. Windrunner, Viper, Naga Siren facing off against Weaver, Rubik, and Visage. Two really scary tri lanes on both sides of the coin. And I'd be surprised if this tri lane, if this top lane doesn't end up in a lot of early aggression, because both sides do have a fair bit of kill potential between the two of them.
Yeah, I just think, oh man, it's all going to come down to JOTM on this Windrunner, I think, because it's going to be the disable on the Weaver, whether or not you can land those good shackle shots. Obviously, the Viper, very, very good at chasing people down. The Naga, of course, can help you set up for stuff like that, can give you that extra damage with the Riptide, but good shackle shots, good power shots. I really, really hope that JOTM can make this work, because otherwise his team might struggle a bit in this, especially because Visage is such an amazing hero in a tri-lane. I mean, that's why he came onto the scene in the first place, because soul assumption in a tri-lane, in a tri-v-tri, is godlike.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about Pugna versus Timbersaw a little bit, because we haven't seen all that much Pugna pick action.
Got the lift going
recently. On. Ooh, up in the top.
Picked up. Oh, the power shot.
That's going to be the first blood coming out. Viper actually going to grab the last hit onto the Weaver. That last little tick of damage, but Viper is going to get taken out by the Visage. Well, as soon as I leave the lane, all the kills come out here. But Weaver's going to be back in the action. They're going to try to engage on K on that Naga Siren. Are they going to have enough to finish him off? That's going to be it. The Visage going to be able to grab him from long range. Power Shot going to connect with Rubik as well. K-Lift trying to micro about, not going to be able to survive, but is going to be able to get one last disable on that Wind Ranger. And now Weaver going to be able to start landing those auto attacks. This is going way in the favor of Flipside. Viper still alive now. He's going to start doing a bit of damage both in light and Book, forced to back up. A port coming in. It's going to be the Rubik. He's fresh out of the well. Is he going to have a telekinesis? No, another 3 seconds. If he can grab it, this should be an easy kill onto Solo. Indeed he does. A shackle going to connect with Weaver. Is that going to be enough to keep his good buddy Viper alive? A few more auto attacks ought to do it. Not going to be enough. Or it is going to be enough. Pardon me. The Fade Bolt going to be there to finish him off. That's going to be a 4-for-2 exchange. Flipside coming out way ahead there. Back to back. That was just pure chaos on both sides.
Yeah, the fact that the Weaver only died once, but the Viper died twice, I think is the biggest deal there. So Viper 2-2-0 versus a 1-1-3 Weaver. And the Weaver probably now going to be able to help. Because of the advantage they're going to get in experience in the lane, they're going to be able to zone a little more effectively. They're starting to take up some mana, and actually the supports are going to take this opportunity to rotate. I wonder if they want to pick off this Pugna very early, which could really slow down Poseidon's timing if they can get a couple of kills on him in the early laning stage.
Exactly right, and that was where I wanted to go right before that chaos started to erupt. We see Pugna getting the better of Timbersaw in the mid lane, 20-2 on the Pugna versus the 11-1 in Timbersaw. Right now, Hart just trying to bait him. They're going to come around the backside, and Tame My Wild in big trouble right here. He's got a double damage rune on, and it's going to get completely negated as well. He is going to put himself into the Ether form, but unfortunately just going to buy him a couple of seconds. It won't be enough to survive, and that's going to be another kill going the way of Flipside. As you mentioned, this is bad news bears for Poseidon. They're all about that early to mid game. If they fall behind early on, it's going to be so rough for him to recover a much needed kill on that Pugna.
Oh, silly Cliff. He forgot that you can't leave salves for people in the mid lane, so he actually had to walk back and give it to Hart. He tried to leave it right by the tower. He was pinging it out. You could see. It was just, I was sitting there, I'm like, that's not going to do much. And Hart kind of picked it up, walked it back to him, and said, no, this is how you do it. Now put it on me. All right, we're good.
Yeah, absolutely right. So, anyhow, Weaver has been holding his own up here. He is in a 1v3 scenario. He's got 7 creep kills as the Viper is only 8-4. So Weaver's able to hold his own here, and I think that rotation was well worth it to try and slow down that Pugna. Now Timbersaw has had the opportunity to get a little bit of recovery farm. He's now level 5 and going to make things a little bit easier for him. Decrepify is the name of that spell that I was looking for, and the other form. Says the courier comes in. A bottle now going to be on Pugna. An empty bottle here in the inventory of Timbersaw, who has just now hit level 6. Both mids crowing those bottles back and forth. No big surprise. Pretty standard mid stuff. Now let's touch on this bottom lane, as we've totally ignored it. A Hollow Dance going to be on the Bounty Hunter, and of course Illidan on the Doom. It seems like a pretty even lane down here. Doom getting a couple of extra denies. He's 30-5 versus the 20-1 Bounty Hunter. So Doom does have a small level advantage here by just a couple of creeps, but still Bounty Hunter doing just fine. Again, the name of the game for Bounty Hunter is hitting level 6 in a very timely manner and trying to get those track kills to add up, maybe not as quickly as possible, but certainly earlier rather than later. He has picked up an off-lane bottle, and Doom just going for those early phase boots. But this bottom lane, one of those, neither hero should be able to kill the other too easily unless someone makes a very fatal misstep. So, but whoa, in the mid lane here, Timbersaw in big trouble. Tame My Wild just obliterating the Timbersaw. Oh man, gonna drop the Nether Blast, put him into Decrepify, and of course he is level 6, does have that life drain, and not much the Timbersaw could do right there, honestly. Pugna just showing us what that burst damage is all about.
Yeah, as strong as Timbersaw can be in the mid lane, his escape mechanism is neutered to an extent compared to the off lane, or even a safe lane, wherever else you want to put him, because of the distance between the center of that river and any close proximity trees. So he just wasn't able to get away, but the fight of the top lane is the big thing right now, and tracks are coming in.
There it is. One track kill out onto that Naga Siren. Tame My Wild going to make his way up top. He's going to connect with that Nether Blast and do a good bit of damage here. And Light on the Weaver, only level 5, not going to be able to time lapse, and he is going to fall to the wrath of, well, it was a Power Shot doing the core of the damage, but Pugna does grab that last hit. So it is a 1-for-1 up here in the top lane. That's now going to be 6-4 here at the 6-minute mark. Flipside still holding on to their lead. Timbersaw actually going to rotate up as well. So although it was a 1-for-1, Flipside actually getting the slight advantage, I think, because that one kill they grabbed was indeed a track kill.
I mean, yeah, decidedly. The fact that they lost the Weaver as opposed to any other hero, the fact he didn't need to die there at all. He stayed in to kill a Nether Ward and just got annihilated. And that was a really weird decision. I think the idea was they wanted to kill the Nether Ward so they could continue the fight. They didn't want to fight around a Nether Ward. Obviously, it's insanely good in team fights. But the fact that he was out there alone and didn't have any backup killing it, that was the problem. Yeah, so he got just destroyed.
And if he was 6 and could have time-lapsed, that would have been a much different situation. He could have made that play. And that's why I was surprised to see that he was only level 5 and still diving forward. So a little bit of a misstep, perhaps, and Light getting just a bit too hasty there, but still not a bad exchange. Again, Bounty Hunter's name of the game, stacking up those track kills. He's going to head back down to the bottom lane, and Doom has actually left the bottom lane now and moved into the jungle. Illidan is looking very, very powerful right now. He does have Handamitis, which he grabbed following the phase boots, and at the level 7 mark, his farm is really looking pretty good. Number 1 on the net worth chart at about 3.9k, and he's going to start soaking up some of these creep abilities. He is level 4 Devour at the moment, so obviously going that farming Doom, at least for the early game. As we talked about, probably going to be stacking those auras to try and hit that mid-game stride, and left unchecked, he's really going to get out of control pretty quickly here, as he's pretty much been free farming this entire game. Bounty Hunter can lane against him, but can't really deny that much farm against the Doom. So a force to be reckoned with for sure that Flipside are going to have to deal with in the upcoming moments.
Well, especially because when he was laning against the Bounty Hunter's general advantage against another melee hero, he has 2 advantages. He has the Janata, obviously, and he has the bonus Shadow Walk damage, which you can actually get. Oh, Bounty Hunter going in on the mid lane, though.
Yep, Tame My Wild going to be in a little bit of trouble here. The Timbersaw did throw the Chakram. Naga going to come in. That will finish off the Bounty Hunter, but they at least make it a 1-for-1. That was a track kill as well. So Naga going to grab the Bounty. Timbersaw going to finish off the Pugna. Again, a 1-for-1, but that track, a little bit of track gold, skewing things in favor of Flipside for that exchange. But look at the gold graph. Wow, Poseidon, a nice 2,000 gold lead, 1,500 experience lead already, despite trailing by 2 hero kills. And honestly, I think most of that is just coming from the Doom. He is already out of control between the Midas and the Devour. His farm is just, well, really starting to skyrocket. We're going to see some action up in the top lane, though. Rubik going to be able to initiate on the Viper. We did see a Shackle that latched on the Rubik, but unfortunately, the damage was already done in terms of the telekinesis being used. We're going to see Enlight dive this. He is going to be able to finish off the Viper, but now going to find himself in a sticky situation. He is going to time-lapse backwards, going to be able to mitigate some of that damage, going to run through the tower, will get dusted. Life Drain going to come out, but Enlight fast enough to make it out, and he will survive. A nice dive right there, now going to make it 8-5 as we approach the 9-minute mark of our 5th and final match of the day here at Starladder Season 8, Day 2 on Beyond the Summit.
Yes, I think another thing, not just talking about the Doom, we were talking about the gold difference. It's not just the Doom. They're out every single lane. Except now, finally, for the Weaver, after that Viper got picked off. The Viper was leading the Weaver slightly in last hits, the Pugna is leading the Timbersaw, and the Doom is leading everybody. So, I mean, basically, in terms of all lanes, they've got a little bit of an advantage, and, you know, Flipside just needs to make this up with track kills, which they are doing to an extent. Oh, the Pugna's still alive! Tame My Wild at last second decrep. Not quite enough to keep himself alive, but the rotations coming in from JOTM. Nice shackle shot.
Wow, that definitely was a nice shackle indeed. Can at least be able to make it a 1-for-1, and that's something Poseidon have been doing so well. As you mentioned, they are getting the bitter of the farm in these lanes, but all of these kills that Flipside have been grabbing, for the most part, Poseidon have been able to trade 1-for-1 very effectively to prevent this from getting out of control. Yeah, the track kills will start to add up, but at least making it a 1-for-1 really mitigates your losses there. Well, which is great news. Still holding on to that gold lead, holding steady, but getting close to that 3,000 gold lead mark here at the 10-minute mark.
Yeah, absolutely. And just Doom, 10 minutes, 74 CS. And that's so incredible. He's actually given himself the mana regen aura from the healing creep, so he can do a little bit of healing on himself if he needs it, but he's also able to make sure he has good mana to engage with at all times, which is the much more significant part of that. The health restore is not really that much.
Yeah, 15
but having
on
having a 2-point mana aura on Doom is huge.
Yeah, no doubt about that. That is Jesus. That is a lot. No, it's not one of those things you think about often. It's not a creep that you often devour, but yeah, you're absolutely right. In the top lane here, Weaver going to be in big trouble. Naga going to use the ulti, going to use the ensnare as well. Weaver not going to be able to survive that one. Did burn the time lapse to try and survive, but unfortunately not going to be enough. Now going to be 7-9 as Poseidon do grab themselves a kill. Timbersaw in a little bit of trouble in the mid lane. Tame My Wild dropping that Pugna rotation once again. Not going to have enough damage to finish him off. Hart will be able to Timber Chain out, sip up that bottle, and he is going to rotate bottom, perhaps looking for a rune. But whoa, down in the bottom lane, Bounty Hunter going to get picked off by the Doom, but Doom's going to be in a bit of trouble here as both Visage and Rubik are in hot pursuit. Doom may be able to survive this, though. He's off to the races. No, Timbersaw going to come in just in the nick of time and will chop him down with that Chakram. Now Hart looking like he might want to dive on this Windrunner. She doesn't have any mana left, but nope, not going to overcommit. There is a port coming in. Of course, the Naga here going to be joining the battle. It is a 3v2 down here at the bottom lane, so the Naga as well as the Windrunner need to be a little bit careful. I'm not sure if they can hold their own in this kind of an engage. In the mid lane here, we're going to see Pugna go toe-to-toe with the Weaver. Lane rotations coming about, and Pugna actually taking a lot of damage here. Ohalu going to come in. Pugna going to be in big trouble. Not going to be able to get the Decrepify off. Does get one last Q. Oh, that Nether Blast almost finishing the Weaver. He's got about 60 hit points to spare, but very nicely played by Flipside as they do secure yet another kill on that Pugna. They've done a great job continuing to put pressure his way. Now he is 2-4-2, not giving him much breathing room whatsoever. While these rotations are happening, Viper picking up some free farm in the top lane, but it looks like Flipside going to continue putting the pressure on as they are rotating down towards the bottom, and well, we'll see what they want to do. We see this Bounty Hunter cutting the lanes, scouting it out, perhaps looking for an opportunity, not going to find it.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head saying that the real saving grace right now for Flipside, I mean, if you compare every other hero on the map, basically, if you ignore the Pugna, Poseidon's doing really, really well. But the Pugna is struggling like crazy. 2-4-2, even with his 58 CS, all of those deaths make it very, very significant for him, and it's slowing down his Necrobook a lot, which is slowing down the push timing that you know Poseidon wanted to hit, and giving Flipside more and more time to set up these Bounty Hunter ganks. They're making sure to get pretty much every kill they've gotten for the past few minutes has been a track kill. They maybe have missed one or two.
Yeah.
So they're really getting good use out of this Bounty Hunter, making sure they're getting that snowball going and slowing down the Pugna, who does now take mid tower. It's very hard to stop him from doing that.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's not a matter of if, truly just a matter of when will Pugna knock down that first tower. But Tame My Wild going to walk right into the Bounty Hunter. He's going to be in big trouble. Oh, the Chakram not going to connect. Hart going to Timber Chain forward. Bounty Hunter kind of wants to commit to this. He's going to take a lot of damage there as he does get caught by that Nether Blast. Is he going to turn? He did get dusted. He could be in a little bit of trouble here. Chakram going to come in. Will it be enough to finish off the Pugna? No, looking like he may survive. Bounty Hunter does fall. Nicely played by Tame My Wild. He walks away with just a couple of hit points to spare, but does survive nonetheless. Now Illidan going to roam his way from the bottom lane into the mid. He did pick off the Rubik while all that was happening in the river right there, and pardon me, I do apologize for missing that one. But alas, multi-kills happening at once does be a little bit difficult. Right before that little exchange, I was going to say, you know, this gold graph starting to level out a little bit. Poseidon taking an edge and Flipside are really holding steady. But now following that tower, as well as those 2 kills right there, the gold graph going to jump up once again. Now a 5,000 gold lead here at the 14-minute mark for Poseidon. And that's the kind of momentum they need. A nice experience lead as well. They're still holding steady with this strat, but they need to continue pushing forward. They need to continue knocking down these tier 1 towers and do some crippling damage here in the mid game, or else they will eventually get overrun. Up in the top, Weaver going to be in some trouble. Will get caught in a shackle shot, but we're going to be able to time lapse back to full health. And now the rest of the supports are on their way in, and I don't mean supports, but team support on the way. They did smoke up through the river. They're going to go for the Pugna. Shackle going to connect with the Visage and one of his birds. In comes the Naga Siren. Does have the ulti on. Is going to be able to reset this fight. It looks like a very defensive ulti here, as everyone is going to back up, at least for the time being. Flipside, though, they do have all 5 of their members up here about the top lane, and it looks like they may want to try and force a team fight perhaps, or at least knock on the front door of this top tier 1 tower. We'll see how they rotate, but all 5 in the top lane. Flipside eager for some aggression here, Hippie.
Doom just finished up a Shadow Blade and is going to mana up before TP's in, so that could be a real X factor right here. They're going to have no idea that's up. Doom's going to be able to come in, get a Doom on someone. It's up in 7 seconds. I think if Flipside tries to push this, they lose. I think.
The only thing they need to be Poseidon should be careful of is they don't have that Naga ulti, so they can't fall back onto that big ultimate reset if they get in a sticky situation. But yeah, aside from that, I think Poseidon are in a pretty good shape here. As you mentioned, that Shadow Blade sort of surprise as it may be. Something that they'll have to deal with, but Doom's farm just continuing to be impressive. I mean, look at the last hits, 97 last hits. Number 2 on the chart is that Timbersaw at 71. Of course, being in the jungle does buff that number up a little bit, but still, the net worth chart, no slouch. 8K on the net worth chart here. Timbersaw number 2 at 5.7, so he is pretty much a full item ahead of everyone else in this game so far, and that farm just going to continue to get more and more out of control. Bounty Hunter going to walk into him here. Unfortunately for him, he is going to get dusted, but oh my gosh, is he going to be able to survive this? 30 hit points left, and he's going to run back through the towers. A great telekinesis from that Rubik, going to buy him a few seconds of valuable time, and a Halu going to be able to survive. I feel like Bounty Hunter should not have been able to survive that.
Well, it was just they wanted to save the Doom. If they just burned the Doom on him, he was done. But they didn't want to use it, and I can't blame them for not wanting to use it on him, but at the same time, the more you slow down that Bounty Hunter, when you know you're getting the better of creep farm, and the enemy team has a Bounty Hunter, Bounty really should be one of your primary targets because he's going to be one of their comeback mechanisms with that track gold, making every kill more and more valuable. So taking him out of the fight for any length of time, reducing his effectiveness by, under-leveling him, under-farming him because of the kills you're getting on him, is a lot more valuable than just, oh, we picked off this single hero. It's, oh, we don't have to worry about them getting track gold for a while.
Yeah, very true. And speaking of track gold here, Invisible Bounty Hunter going to move towards the Doom. Just going to throw a track up. Not going to do anything too crazy. Thought they may look for an opportunity there while Doom was killing neutrals, but nope, not going to have any of the follow-up needed. This Timbersaw is starting to get a little bit scary, though. He's got the Arcane Boots. He has a point booster in bottle, and another 2,200 gold in the bank, pardon me. So he's going to be able to right-click that Perseverance here and then be not too far off that Vitality booster. A very well-timed Bloodstone is always something really scary, especially if they can pick up a couple of team kills on top of it, get those charges up into the double digits. That's when a Timbersaw can really start to snowball and get out of control. So far, Heart's farm has been great, and he's well on his way to some sort of snowball potential. But not Weaver. The Viper is a hero we haven't really talked about too much. He's been pretty quiet up here in the top lane, but Solo has been farming very nicely. He is number 3 on the net worth chart, nipping at the heels of the Timbersaw. He's now got the mech, the power treads, and already on that point booster, so he is a pretty tanky presence, about 1,400 hit points or so. This is that point where we always say Viper starts to get a lot more scary. Pre-mech, he's not quite as scary, very susceptible to those ganks, but at this point, Viper is absolutely a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I mean, decidedly. And looking at the net worth chart, as you're pointing out, he's now second, taking over that Timbersaw, who is, the top farmer for Flipside at 6,500. The Weaver only sitting at 5,000, a little bit below the Pugna. The Bounty Hunter not doing too well either. So Flipside just not able to recover from the kind of shaky laning phase they had with the Bounty Hunter track kills. I really think they need to be... I don't want them to get over-aggressive, but I think Timbersaw and Bounty Hunter really need to be rotating harder. They need to be trying for that track gold, need to be slowing down these enemy heroes from Poseidon, because otherwise, if they just play a passive farming game, then 7 minutes from now, when Poseidon has a bunch of bigger items than them up, and they just push down towers with Necrobooks, most likely, or auras, or whatever push strat they want to go, I don't think that Flipside really has an answer unless they've slowed some of this progression down. Yeah,
and their anti-push is okay, but it's not great. Timbersaw is kind of their saving grace. That Chakram is good, but they don't have some of that classic great creep clearing. They don't have, the power shot. They don't have, Illuminate or something like that to just obliterate these creep waves as they come in. At this point, pushing is going to be a serious problem. It's already 3-0 in terms of total tower count. Pugna now knocking down that top tier 1 tower. Bounty Hunter going to come forward. He's going to get dusted, and he's going to be in a little bit of trouble here. Whoa, a long range and snare. And yeah, that's going to be a kill on the Bounty Hunter. No way he's going to get out of that one. So Poseidon really starting to hit this mid-game stride here. All tied up 11-11, but they're going to start knocking these towers down even more aggressively than they have been. This top tier 2 now going to take a lot of pressure. Pugna just going to keep spamming that Q to chip away at this tower. And look at Flipside. I mean, they just don't don't have any way to defend this. Timbersaw going to Timber Chain forward and clear a couple of trees here. Will get a couple of creep kills, but they really just don't have a great way to deal with this. Down in the bottom, Doom going toe-to-toe with the Rubik, did burn the Doom on the Weaver, but unfortunately not going to be able to grab a kill, though he is opening up all this space in the top lane for the rest of his team to just take out that tier 2. Now going to be 4-0 in total tower count in this gold graph. I can only imagine now upwards of 10,000 gold at the 20-minute mark. This is really exactly what Poseidon need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. They need to just keep squeezing. I mean, basically, they need to put Flipside in a vice and slowly squeeze them to death. You know, they have, because of the advantages they managed to get for themselves, they've probably extended their window by about 5 minutes. I'd give them till 35 or 40 till they start falling off with this. And I think with 20 minutes of window from here on forward, and with the fact that each team fight, if it goes poorly for Flipside, extends that by a minute or two, I think they really have a good chance of taking this at this point. They're just so far ahead.
Yeah, now one thing that's interesting is Doom is not going for that aura build that we were both kind of snapping our carrots to. We've got a Shadow Blade straight into the BKB, so really the complete opposite of an aura build. Right now he does have Pack Leader's aura as well as Critical Strike, so Doom going a little bit more of that kind of classic position 1 style, just heavy farm. I want to right-click you down. We'll hold that thought for a second here as we are going to see an engage. Viper going to be in big trouble here, but Naga going to be able to be his saving grace. Going to use that Song of the Siren, will interrupt the rest of the Flipside team, and Viper going to be able to survive, so still tied up 11-11. The aggression continues, and talk about opening space. Poseidon really have a 4v5 in the mid lane right here. Doom is just continuing to farm. I mean, Illidan is now level 14, still #1 on the net worth chart by an absurd margin, and with this level of farm difference, I feel like Doom can almost get away with playing that position 1 kind of hard carry role just because he's an item and a half ahead of everyone else on the opposition.
Oh, he definitely can. I mean, he's in fact in that great position. He didn't really get pressured in the early game. He was able to go a Midas and not get punished for it at all. And Doom with a Midas and Devour, that's like an extra 100 GPM or something along those lines. Yep. Even more, in fact. Devour on its own is like an extra 100 gold every 40 seconds with that bonus gold. And then Midas, of course, is giving you that extra 100. So it's like maybe an extra 150.
Yeah, that's too much math to do in my head, but it's a lot.
Yeah, but it's obscene. I mean, it's almost as good as an Alchemist if you're just allowing a Doom to free farm. You can't give a Doom this much room. Yeah. I really expected him to get punished harder because, quite frankly, he's an easy pick-off in the early game with his terrible starting armor.
Yep. Absolutely. So seeing the mid lane here, Poseidon continuing to put the pressure on. This tier 2 getting dangerously low. Flipside did move into the Roche pit looking like they wanted to try and make something happen, but unfortunately didn't find the opportunity they were looking for to drop Roche. Naga going to be in some trouble here. Not going to have the ulti to save himself this time, though he does get nice mirror images off and will be able to buy himself a little bit of time. Doom going to finish off the Visage. Now Rubik going to fall as well. It's a 2-for-1 exchange right here. And yeah, Poseidon just getting the better of this fight. Flipside can't take these fights. They're going to lose this tier 2 tower in the mid lane here. They got to wait for the creep wave to stop the backdoor control, but yeah, this tier 2 gonna fall. Still not a single tower dead from Flipside, and that's gonna be 5-0 in total tower count. This gold graph continuing to get out of control now, upwards of almost 14,000 gold. Experience graph not quite as scary, about 7,500 or so, but the gold lead just continuing to grow, and I love that Poseidon are keeping this momentum, continuing to put on the pressure, and really just not giving Flipside any breathing room. If they had backed up and continued farming, Flipside could have grabbed Roshan right there, and that could have been at least a step in the right direction of making some recovery, but you know, Poseidon are just keeping the pressure on, not giving Flipside that opportunity whatsoever. Doom going to be used on the Timbersaw, and nice shackle going to come in from the Windrunner, and yeah, Weaver got picked off as well. This is just a massacre. Flipside getting ripped apart here at every turn, Hippie.
Yeah, I didn't even see how the Weaver dies, but it looks like the Rubik is going to be next. He tries to he gets decrepified for all that bonus damage. He gets almost annihilated off that. And yeah, the Pugna just too much damage on top of that power shot with the decrepify. I mean, Nether Blast plus power shot, that's, you know, 685 amplified by the decrep. NBD. It's pretty huge, not going to lie. And now they're just going to move into taking easy Roshan. I don't think Flipside can contest this. They don't have the team fight power. Doom is down on the one hand, but nothing else is down, and they still do have the Naga ultimate. But now Poseidon just going to play it safe. They're going to back up.
Yeah, they're going to back it up here. Now we're getting to that point where there's a level difference as well. Even when Doom is down, Doom is level 16, so aside from having level 3 ulti, he's just a tanky presence. His right clicks are scary. I mean, look at him. He hits for over 200 a swing. Some of that is having Pack Leader's aura as well as the critical strike, of course. Those are the go-to creep abilities that you want to grab if you're going to go that right click auto attack Doom, but still, I mean, Doom aside, he is just a beast that I don't really think anybody on Flipside can go toe-to-toe with at this point.
Yeah, I got to agree with you there. And he has actually his Assault Cuirass almost done. He's just waiting on the... He needs about 1,600 more gold to pick up the Hyperstone, and he'll have it. The rest of the pieces are all on courier already. And that's perfect. I mean, when you're going this hard carry roll, when you already have some good damage, and when you do want to still be aggressive, like the moment you want to be pushing, you want to be knocking down towers, Assault Cuirass. It's absolutely perfect for what they're going for.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with that, my friend. And we do see 2 Og Scepters completed now, one in the inventory of the Viper, which is always a big item pickup, one that doesn't need too much discussion. Windrunner now has a Force Staff, but the other big pickup here is on the Pugna. Now got an Og Scepter of his own to go with the Arcane Boots and his bottle. Not going for that Necro Book as we thought, but getting a little bit more survivability and making that life drain that much more of a scary ability. We see Roche being attempted yet again here. Familiar is going to come in and scout it out, so obviously Flipside have visual confirmation. They know exactly what's going on, but Poseidon getting so aggressive here, it looks like they thought about making something happen, but nope, not going to venture too far forward. Just going to continue slowly poking away at Roche. Flipside continuing to scout with the familiars. They're going to come down and use the stone form here, get a couple of stuns. And I don't know. Again, I think Flipside want to contest this, but I don't know that they actually can. It could be one of those where, yeah, maybe they could hop in and snatch the Aegis, but usually not worth it if it's going to cost you someone's life. Illidan actually getting dangerously low right here, going to be forced to burn the BKB. Does you grab the Aegis right away, so now he's going to be in better shape. Oh, a Shackle Shot going to connect with the Rubik. He'll be the first to fall in this engage. Bounty Hunter going to get juiced right after. Doom is going to fall. The Aegis going to get burned. Compliments of the Weaver, but that's A-okay. He's going to pop back up with full health, kind of exactly what they wanted anyhow. They get 2 free kills out of it, and now Poseidon going to be able to reset everyone at full health, reasonably high mana, and I think they're going to try and knock down this last remaining outer tower for Flipside. And that'll make it 6-0 in total tower count. Again, Flipside unable to get a single tower kill this match.
That's Doom's Assault Cuirass too. He's got the money now. All the pieces are already on the courier, which is like kind of waffling back and forth in base. It's kind of silly. They haven't quite decided to bring it out. There it goes. Well, it went back to pick up a Yasha and a Midas for other heroes. But so he can pick up his Hyperstone right now from the Secret Shop, which he's going to go do. And then he's just going to have that come out to him, have the Assault Cuirass, and then maybe they don't want to break high ground because they had to burn the Aegis. That was a very, very greedy Roche. But of course they still won the team fight. But in the end, they didn't get as much out of it as they could have because they had to lose the Aegis immediately. So maybe their push is going to be delayed a little bit. But even if it is, it's going to come soon. They just need to get one pick off, and it's just almost free high ground. Yeah, especially if they get Timbersaw.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're really at that point here where, you know, we've been talking about that mid-game timing and how Flipside can start to overcome them with that carry potential. You look at the graph, I mean, like a 22,000 gold lead, that is just so unbelievably significant that I'm skeptical Flipside will start to overtake this unless Poseidon just back up and AFK farm for the next 20 minutes or so and give Flipside the room they need to make a recovery. But based on how aggressive Poseidon have been playing so far, I mean, they're no slouches. They know this strategy. They know what they need to do. They may back up here and reset, maybe finish up that next round of core items if need be. But yeah, no doubt in my mind they're going to continue to put the pressure on. And Flipside, I guess, recognizing they're up against a wall, they need to do something radical, and they're going to do just that. They will smoke up and now rotate through the Radiant jungle, perhaps looking to pick off someone somewhere, but not going to find one. Poseidon all backed up on, well, their side of the jungle, really. And just going to be a matter of initiation. Who will catch whom here? And it looks like no one will catch anyone as both sides kind of back up to friendly territory. Although, who's this? Oh, now Doom rotating into the Dire jungle. Still holding on to the Pack Leader's aura and the Critical Strike. As you mentioned, the Assault Cuirass now in tow. So this next team fight really shouldn't be too hard. In terms of items on the Dire side, not much. Still no mech. We see Visage working towards it. Weaver now has his Lincoln Sphere, which is a step in the right direction. Timbersaw has had his Bloodstone for some time, but hasn't been able to pick up too much momentum. Weaver actually going to get doomed in the top lane here. Not so sure how I feel about the use of the cooldown right there. As, well, obviously no kill going to come about, and Doom just going to be forced to back up.
Yeah, I don't think he realized that there were 4 more heroes up there with the Weaver. I thought he thought he had the Weaver out alone. Like, a couple of auto attacks on top of it. He only needed 1 or 2 with how hard this Doom is swinging right now. But he just knew he was a little far away. He couldn't quite get in range to where he wanted to be, and then he saw everyone else coming in. So as much as I think it was a bad use of Doom, but I think it was a better choice to back up and not feed away the huge amount of, you know, gold that this Doombringer is going to be worth at this point. Especially if they get a track on him.
Yeah. Absolutely. So exactly what we were sort of talking about here. Poseidon are going to back up and grab that next round of core items, which is absolutely fine. They've got a long window here. I mean, they could really sit back and farm for another 10 minutes, I think, and be okay, but would be overkill in my humble opinion. We do see a Necro Book level 2 now in the inventory of the Pugna. Maybe waiting to grab that Necro Book level 3 before they make that last and final push, or they may just be taking their time because they certainly can. Viper with a Yasha, and not too many other big items have been picked up since we last checked, except Naga with a Hand of Midas. That's so adorable. Support's getting Midas. Never thought I'd live to see the day that that became a thing, Hippie, I have to admit.
Well, you know, it's... If you get enough for the Midas and you get your hands on the Midas, it means no one can slow you down for the rest of the game. You have that increased static income. So I get it. I'm at the point where I get it and I accept it, and games would stop doing it because they don't make good use of it.
Yeah, sorry the pro scene has been soiling your pub games, Hippie. So sorry, so sorry.
It's ruinous, I tell you. Ruinous.
So things still looking very good for Poseidon. The game has definitely slowed down. I think we've theory crafted the hell out of the strategies here. Flip side, although they're able to farm in their jungle at the moment, still have not been able to knock down a single tower. They're still struggling oh so much. Gold graph now upwards of 25,000. Oh, it's painful. We can look at the KDA chart, though, see if there's anything interesting here. And actually, not really. Everything is pretty straightforward. No crazy 10, 0, and 1 Pugnos or anything like that. Everyone's pretty par for the course. Nothing to stand out. I guess what we can talk about here, though, is, you know, if you're the coach for Flipside RU, I mean, what are you telling them to do right here? What is there, if there is hope, what can they do to try and thwart the efforts of Poseidon here?
Right now, you have to kill Naga and get that gem, because you need to get that gem out of their hands, because you need to take back some level of map control with some wards, because you need to be able to find bounty hunter pickoffs. And that's the only way you're going to get anything done is bounty hunter pickoffs, but if you don't have the wards to kind of find solo heroes with, you're not going to get them. So your first primary objective is kill Naga when no one else is looking. And that's a pretty hard thing to do, because she's only going to be counter warding with her illusions. She's going to be sticking with her, you know, with her carries most of the time and with their cores, as opposed to being out on her own. Like, look, you can see she's not far from anyone on Poseidon's team. But unless you can get that gem out of their hands, I just don't think you have a chance, quite frankly. They are that far behind. She has a blink dagger now too.
Yeah, absolutely. A blink on the Naga, and there's also a blink on the Windrunner, I think. Maybe that was the Naga, and I'm just confused. Is it on the Courier? Yep, there it is. Blink on the Windrunner.
There we go. So total mobility Windrunner. I love that build. It's so much fun to play.
Yeah, seriously. And I mean, so far, JOTM's been pretty spot on with these shackle shots. And if they can keep it up, they'll definitely be in good shape. I think if Poseidon are concerned about their ability to break the base from the low ground moving into that defender's advantage of Flipside, they certainly have the tools at their disposal just to do some split push. I mean, hell, just put Doom in a lane by himself with the other 4 in another lane. And I think Flipside would be hard-pressed to defend both lanes at the same time. We could see some action in the mid here as we see both Weaver and Bounty Hunter rotating their way in. A double damage on the Bounty Hunter. Could be an okay time to fight for Flipside, but looks like the end could be near here. Poseidon going to group up and start pressuring towards the mid lane. Wow, Weaver going to get doomed and ensnared. And oh, God, he's just going to get cut in half by the Doom. Back-to-back 600 crits, and Weaver just going to get melted. Bounty Hunter now going to be in some trouble as well. To complement what you said, my friend, that gem really coming in handy right there. Both Bounty Hunter and Weaver, the 2 invisible heroes, going to get picked off. Compliments of the detection. Bounty Hunter going to buy back right away, but yeah, they're going to be so hard-pressed to defend this. That position 1 Doom right now is just out of control. Visage going to come in. He's going to try to do a bit of damage. Look at the life drain. Just takes him down to half health instantaneously. The tier 3 tower down below half health as well. It should be a pretty easy push for Poseidon. They are going to wait for the next creep wave. They are going to bide their time, but with Weaver down for another 20 seconds, I believe Weaver is with... Oh, no, Weaver does have buyback, so hopefully he won't have to burn it here, but he very well may, depending on how nasty it gets with Poseidon. They're going to press forward, going to try and take out the Timbersaw. He's going to hop backwards, but now that tier 3 tower falls, Glyph is available. Melee Rack's taking a lot of pressure. Flipside need to make one final stand right here. There's the Glyph. This could be their opportunity. And no, they're not going to find a window here. The Glyph going to expire. Melee Rack's probably going to fall as the illusions continue to start chipping away at it. And both sides just playing that kind of ring around the rosy, looking for the opportunity to find the initiation, and Doom just going to walk into the Bounty Hunter. A couple of right clicks to the face. Down he goes. The Weaver getting picked apart as well. And now this engage going to start to unfold. Viper going to go toe-to-toe with the Visage. And Visage trying to survive. Does survive for a couple of seconds or so. But yeah, Poseidon just ripping apart Flipside. There it is. The GG comes out. And I think that's pretty well timed. Not much Flipside can do at this point, given just how fat Poseidon are. 30,000 gold advantage.
Victory.
Yeah, I mean, they played exactly how they need to. The Doom, even though he went for a more carry build instead of an aura build, it worked perfectly fine. He was all that physical damage output they needed. It was great. Absolutely great. Well played, Poseidon.
Yeah, exactly right. We talked about how that's a little bit of a risky strategy. You have to put that pressure on. You have to keep the pressure up, but they knew what they needed to do. They executed well. A fascinating game to enjoy, and again, well played by both sides.